We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
I want to talk about news, don't want the drama. From no pretentious media Madonna. I found me a great ganja mama. Cannabis and coffee with Tamarijuana.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Cannabis and Coffee. It's a sunny day in British Columbia this morning, and we're doing, the hunkered down and try and stay the course kind of day. So hope everybody's been having a great week, enjoying whatever sunshine you can. I know that some people got some snow, and I know Al's got some rain, and it's life, right? So this morning, we're going to get right to it because my guest has always got there's lots to cover with Jeff. So good morning, Jeff. I'm going to ask you first question, who you are and how you got into cannabis.
Well, my name is Jeffery Lundstrom, and I own a little head shop on the prairies called Skunk Smokers Emporium, and I'm also the founder of the Prairie Medicinal Harvest Cup, as well as CannaPro, Cannabis Professionals Nursery Incorporated, my new company. And I got into cannabis mainly recreational when I was a teenager. After my fall in 2000, I fell 2 stories from a scaffold, crushed all the nerve endings in my lower lumbar, and I got chronic pain. I've been in chronic pain, so I got a license for cannabis in 2005, and in 2004, I sort of got into activism, watching Mark Emery and the BC3, Greg Williams and Michelle Rainey go through what happened in 2004 and the seed raid and everything that followed, and that's pretty much my history. Here we are today.
Awesome. Well, we were at the Prairie Harvest Cup. I think it was the second one you held. It was so much fun. Alvin and I came out for that, and it was just a blast. And that's kind of where I got my zeal to want to do my own cups too, is just by attending, like we were talking before the show about how, you were on these boats and, smoke outs with people in Vancouver and thinking, I just want to do that in my own community. And that's kind of, the feel of it too. Like, just want to do it so that other people can experience what we've experienced, right?
It's nice to be able to have that, because not everybody has the availability or finances or time even to travel to these bigger cities for these type of events, which makes the homegrown cup so much more of this intimate type of feel and family type environment. I always enjoyed every aspect of the smaller cups like that. Anything I ever went to was always fun. Even some smaller stuff that used to happen in bigger cities too. So they did like a concentrate cup for a while in Vancouver, and I went to a couple of those. It was just like, no more than about 35, 40 people, all just dabbing down and judging different concentrates. So the small events are much more personal and intimate. I love that about the homegrown cups. Yeah,
that's what we really, found here, like that, you have time to sit and chat with people and really get to know the people that have come and traveled because that's me, and people do travel from across the country to come and attend these events. So it gives you, as the organizer yourself, too, time to kind of meet people and talk to them and kind of get to know people, which I really enjoyed with our cup, is that, you could really sit down with people around the fire and, get to know them and, see what they're doing in their areas too, which was really fun. So another thing you were just mentioning too, you've got a new project on the go.
Yes. New project is I'm moving into the legal. I guess it's not. We're not going to be producing strains for the rec market to grow to finished product. We're just going into strain development. So pheno hunting and cloning and tissue culturing. It's more of the R&D type of stuff. So. And then what we do is we'll eventually contract once we get federal approval. That's quite a process and not cheap. Again, some wheels that need to be greased there. And once you get through approval process, then we'll be able to provide clones or tissue culture to micro growers and LP companies of our genetic profiles in order for them to grow those for the recreational market.
Oh, so you're not going to be able to sell public to, like, just to people in general. It's just going to be strictly just for the license to microcrafting. That's how it works.
I'm not really too sure how it translates into legally providing genetics but I mean, since people are allowed to produce 4 plants at home, they should be able to get those strains from companies like mine.
Right, that's what I was wondering. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Right. That'd be great.
Yeah, I believe, and like I said, we don't know all of it because this is all brand new to me too. We're in just developmental stage. So you have to have your whole facility built before you even put an application in with Health Canada. So I'm in the process of building my facility. Once facility's up and fully functional, because you got to be quite code compliant for health reasons, right? So they want you got standard practices. There's lots of, like I said, it's all very corporate type of, based business style stuff that I'm not used to running a small independent head shop. It's a little bit different than a big company like this, but learning curve, and I'm optimistic because, like I said, I want to affect that change from the inside out. We wanted to run with CannaPro in the beginning, like when legalization came, but we didn't realize how bad the government was going to shit the bed in the beginning. So now that they've gotten over some of those growing pains, as I like to call them, regulations and control has relaxed a little bit to allow micro and entrepreneurs like myself to get involved in the game, which is all we ever wanted from the beginning, right? Just fair equality across the board.
Right. Now, you mentioned microfiching. That's something that I heard about probably about 7 years ago, but still really complicated, or not so complicated, do you think?
For what?
Well, you know how they for growing. So say myself, like I wouldn't know what to do with a microfiche film to get that to the point where it was actually a plant. How complicated is it to go from a microfiching slice of a plant to a plant? Like how hard is that process?
You're talking about growing tissue culture,
right?
It's as easy as cloning a slip. So you just induce it to create roots and then produce your plant from that.
Oh, okay. I see.
I'm not sure 100% on the science end of tissue culturing because I'm not a plant scientist. I'm just a master grower. I got in-house training. I'm not, but we are working with a professor of plant science from the University of Saskatchewan. And he would be able to, we definitely could talk to him about having him on the show, and he could explain in real detail exactly how tissue culture works.
Yeah, that would be super interesting because I'm kind of interested in how that kind of, transpires into a plant. Like I did hear about it a few years ago because I'm old school grower too, like seeds and clones and that kind of stuff like yourself. And to hear that you can actually like grow a plant from just a little tiny piece of that, it's just so interesting to me. Like just a little tiny microfiche. It just sounds so incredibly scientific, I guess. Way past my pay grade,
The wonderful thing about tissue culturing, especially with, from what I understand with genetics, is it then takes the plant back to its original genetic structure, which gives it back all its vitality. So say you've been growing a strain that you really like for like 10 or 12 years. Like I have some strains we've had for generation. Like I've had my Exodus cheese I've had for almost this year now 14 years. Right. So you can, as it breaks down over time, tissue culture will take it back to its youth again, essentially. Right?
Oh.
It's like going to get a facelift, going to get, oxygen pumped into your body. You can go get flushed out, go to those organic clinics and get cleaned out, and guys come out of there saying they feel like they're back in their 20s again. It's the same concept of taking the plant back its original gene structure. So
Interesting.
Yeah, it's
So
super
that
exciting.
basically brings things. Yeah, that's super exciting to hear because, like you said, they do break down after time. Like your the strength of the THC levels and stuff is generationally they can break down a bit, but that's really interesting. Like that's super cool. I don't know, like I said, there's the technology, right? Like the technology, like even with growing, like, back in, it was dirt and a seed. Now we've got so many different mediums of growing. There's aeroponics and hydroponics. We've got LED lights. Like, I mean, 10 years ago, buddy, like we weren't looking at any of this stuff. Like, when we first started going in this.
Yeah, people were running magnetic ballast, humming in their grow rooms, just pumping off the heat. Yeah, things are really coming around.
Breaking into electricity so they didn't have to pay their bills, like, because it was so, like, you know what I mean? Like, the guerrilla growers, like, we've really come a long ways. Like, I have to sit back and think of, 2006, 2007 when I got started. And here we are, we actually have legalization in whatever form we've got it. But back then, we weren't thinking we were ever going to see this. Were you ever thinking you were going to actually be able to get into a legal market to do this nursery? Like, honestly, 10 years ago,
No, never. When I started growing weed in a basement in Walker, Saskatchewan, to pay off a drug debt, I never thought in years that would translate to CEO of a company that is going to eventually be publicly traded one day, and then that'll be legal and across the board. No, I never thought that was ever possible. Not in my wildest dream.
Yeah, right, and that's exactly
crazy kid passionate about wanting to grow weed and trying to pay off his bills.
Right. Well, even with the head shop, like, look at how many things have transpired and grown in that industry alone too. Like different papers from having votes and players. And then blue zigzags to all these raw and different hemp, everything has really blown up.
Like I said, it only looks great towards the future of the growth. And I mean, as much as us activists like to bitch about how we don't have it completely fair, there is a lot of liberties that we've been able to get away with throughout the years that normally people would go to jail for. I don't know about other people, but I know some people have been pulled over with 50 pounds and they just drove away because they had a medical marijuana license.
Right.
20 years ago, you got caught with that much weed, you were looking at 15 years in jail or 20 years in jail. So
yeah. Well, even smoking a joint in public, like even 5 years ago, if you were caught smoking a joint in public, you know what I mean? Like you get a fine, or get a criminal record with that fine too, right? Where now you won't.
Well, Mark Emery did 45 days in jail in 2004 for passing a joint to somebody in Saskatoon.
Yes, he did.
So that goes to show you how ridiculous laws used to be for marijuana. So yeah, it's nice that things change. Like I had it, but I mean the problem is that
I did 6 months house arrest for 4 grams, man. So I know.
You got to remember that people are still having that hard time adjusting. So when I was working the shop on Monday, a customer came in and they bought some papers. And buddy was going to leave. He said, "Can I roll a joint here?" And I said, "Well, absolutely, dude." And he's like, "Oh," he goes, "I didn't think you'd allow that." And I was like, "Well, fucking weed's legal. You should be able to twist it up if you want to smoke one anywhere you are." So the stigmas for people, and that's the problem with prohibition type behavior and allowing people to be oppressed over a harmless, victimless crime, is because that's the stigma, that's the fear that you create, and then it takes decades for that to become less. Or some police still think marijuana's illegal. I know a guy who's got a medical marijuana license. He produces his own marijuana at home, got pulled over by the police, and they seized his cannabis on him because it wasn't in a government package. Well, it doesn't have to be in a government package. He grows his own medicine at home. But because the cop was uninformed of the laws and the legislation, and he's only been trained one way, my buddy got fined, he got his cannabis seized, and now he's got to go to court, pay for those expenses. And so we need proper education. Our police need to be properly educated. We should have people in place to do that. I know it's always easier said than done, but I think we could be really focusing on stuff of making people accept what the facts are. And then maybe our next generation won't have to go through the same bullshit.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like I said, there's so many different aspects that we have improved, but there's still so much more room for improvement. And I think we say that almost on every show that, there's these, things that are so great about the fact that we're, we've come so far, but there's these small little things that could be tweaked. Right. And it's not big things. Like in reality, they're not really huge things. It's overlooking maybe, we still have a lot of work to do with medical. And that's something that we've been saying from the very beginning with medical too, because I think, I don't know if I'm not even licensed right now. I just don't even give a shit. I'm to the point where I said that years ago, I don't want to be dog tagged. I don't got the power in my house to be able to grow my script out anyway. So I just foreplant it and whatever. Right. But
Right.
For a lot of people, the aspect of being legal and having to be able to grow more than the 4 plants still has to be paid for by a doctor, and you're still paying doctors. Like if you want to get an LP license, sign you up. They don't make you pay. And I think it's still ridiculous that patients have to pay somebody to get that license to grow. And I don't know where that's ever going to change, because doctors see that because they're being ostracized.
When you find a compassionate doctor, and those usually come within, somebody knows a doctor that's compassionate enough to help. But the problem is that the college usually shuts those guys down as quick as they get.
Yeah. Well,
right?
Like look at Dr. Camerman. Like he went to Montreal and signed like 5,000 patients in a weekend, and shortly after that they were all over him. Right.
Yeah. I know an LP or a doctor, from Regina that, he got his whole practice shut down. He was signing at least, when I was at his office, I saw, 25 people there, and he did that probably every day, all day.
Yeah. And they should. And like, I don't think I don't have a problem with that. Like seriously, like we've gone like with the stats when I was reading, we have 420,000 patients in Canada, which is I think a really funny number, but yeah, it's 420,000 patients and 43,000 grow. So that's like 1% of the people that aren't. And why Health Canada is looking at regulating and capping, I think, is there's 75-day consultation right now they got going, is because the average person grammage per day through an LP is 3 grams or 2 grams, somewhere in there. And an average licensing for people that are growing is 36 grams. So that's throwing alarm bells off, and the diversion portion of it, and who's, you know what I mean? So again, they're trying to change things again for the patients, but not in a positive manner.
Well, the only reason they're doing that is because they know that some of that is their direct competition. So if they don't eliminate. Yeah, so and that's unfortunate for people who are abusing the legal medical market to divert back to the black market, because I think everybody has a fair access trade, and if you just did that, allowed people to have fair access at a quality assurance and quality price, then you wouldn't have these competitive marketplaces like that. And that's why they're constantly talking about eliminating. They want to eliminate their competition. That's the only way that the legal market's going to fucking survive. Sorry for cursing, but that's the only way the legal market's going to exist and survive. And they know that, right? So they got so much lobby information, people telling them. They know the numbers, so they got to go after that eventually. It's unfortunate for the patients that are going to get washed out by that. Because you're right, there is nobody to protect them. And I said that 2 years before legalization. I said as soon as they legalize, no longer will they focus on patient care. They will only immediately focus on revenue. And that's what happened. You ask anybody who has an LP that they got to buy their script from, they're not getting quality of cannabis, and they're paying out the ass for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I was one of them. Like I had to go, like I said, I got an LP license the last time, and, went through Canamart, and I had options of different, growers, but the pricing was no better, whether I was a patient or not. The cannabis was not medical quality. I could buy the same stuff at the store from Broken Coast that I was getting from Broken Coast in the mail. You know what I mean? For the same price, pretty much. Rec Market in the store or through them, it was the same damn price. It wasn't any cheaper. So, and that's why I just kind of, I've pretty much thrown my hands in the air, Jeff, and just given up. Like seriously, when it comes to growing or doing anything when it comes to medicine anymore, because it's just like what the fuck? Everything's just gone so fucky. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I haven't given up. Of course, I never give up, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, everything seems to be just one barrier against another barrier against another barrier. And like myself too, like criminal record barrier, right? Which really, when you want to get into the legal market, is a huge barrier. Like, even if you want to go work at 7-Eleven, it's still just a huge barrier. It doesn't matter what it is. So that being said, you know, there's a lot of that conundrum, never mind even just if you don't have a criminal record, to try and get into the legal market.
I find that medical patients lack the ability to either find a grower or grow for themselves. So I think if we maybe came up with a strategy for each province to have a national or a provincial network of maybe DGs and patients who have the ability to not only grow for themselves, but maybe for one or two other patients, and then just provide access for those patients to those people, like connect the network. I think something like that.
Well, I think that's all we ever asked for. Yeah, and that's all we've ever asked for. It was dignified access. That was one thing we've always said right from the get-go. Our mandates have always been dignified affordability. And, you know, even that's just, we've never gotten there. And even with the rec market now, that's not dignified, reasonable access with affordability for people with, like I said, that are on benefits of any kind. Like, I don't know, like, I don't get any disability, but I know that people that do, they barely get enough money to pay their rent. So I don't know how a lot of these people that can't grow for themselves would be able to maintain their prescriptions. It just doesn't seem. And insurance companies, you know, that means you have to have a job, though, that you're getting benefits paid for. And the provincial disabilities aren't looking at paying for cannabis for patients. They barely cover a lot of the prescriptions now. Some of these provincial healthcare, like if you've got certain prescriptions for, you know, whatever, you have to pay, I think, a $2 to $5 charge now too. It's not all free anymore. So, you know what I mean? Like, they've really cut back on so much. I don't know how we could ever, like, I know there's people fighting for insurance companies to pay for cannabis, but that would entail you having a job that have extended benefits, 11, where we do. Our Great White West Life is never going to pay for my cannabis. They've never.
Right.
Right?
Well, I mean, there are some benefits. Try to tax deduct your costs, you know, submit your stuff to your disability, whatever program you're on. Submit your receipts if you are getting medicinal. You know, try to be proactive enough to cover the expense of what it is. And if not, then just look to the people you know can gift it. If anybody is a medicinal marijuana patient and is in need of cannabis, we have a large network of cheap to zero cost for medicinal patients. Anybody at any time can reach out to me at Skunk Funk, and we'd be more than happy to help. Well,
that's good to know. Because like I said, there's a lot of people out there. Like I said, Alvin and I too, like, 2 designated growers fucked us. Like, seriously, like, screwed us over. So we just given up. Like, we don't have the power. We don't have, you know what I mean? We just said, fuck it. We tried the LED lights. It did 4 plants. It got spider mites. It went, fuck it. Now I'm like, I had to pull down the one clone that I did have somebody give me because it was full of spider mites too. So finding clean clones is really difficult to begin with. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes it's not, but sometimes it is. And yeah, it's just been, like I said, it's been the kind of it is what it is situation around here. But there's so many other patients in that same predicament where they live in an apartment. They can't grow for themselves. They can't find a designated grower. They're stuck with no other options but the rec stores. And then you go into a rec store and they can't tell you what you need anyway. So the stigma is going away, but they're stigmatizing everybody into this recreational kind of, like, not looking at the fact that there are so much more benefits to cannabis than just getting high. And I think, you know, somewhere along that wheel of turning into recreation, they did that with CBDs, you know, explaining to what, you know, people can use this, but then they're selling CBDs as medicinal in the rec stores. So that's kind of a hypocrisy there on it, you know, in itself too, right?
Well, considering the gatekeepers, Health Canada, don't even recognize marijuana as a medicine. They boldly say that in almost every possibility. So, I mean, you're talking about some of the fundamentals of what the Allard decision was based off of, and the Smith decision, cannabis in all its forms, and your right to produce at home because your inflation. If I had to pay a licensed producer for my 30 gram a day script, I would be in, I think we did the math back when they were talking about pulling our grow licenses, it was something like $16,000 a month for my medicine.
Yeah,
and
ours were similar.
That's crazy. I can grow that same amount of cannabis at home for 40 cents a gram, which worked out, I think, monthly to like $400.
Right.
So
exactly.
Like that's 16,000 versus $400. Well, I don't have to be a mathematician to figure out what kind of price that difference is, right? Like,
no, absolutely not.
So I agree. It's and like I said, it's very unfortunate, and I think if we focus more, I'd love to still focus on patient care. We have the CannaPro has accessibility for if you need clean plants. Like we have clones and stuff available, to great strains. And like I said, once we're federally licensed, then those will be available across the board for sure. Hopefully, then we can set up some sort of medicinal program inside my company that allows medicinal patients to access those clones for cheap or free.
That would be amazing. It's too bad that, the idea of co-op nurseries where you would do exactly that, like just produce clones for medicinal patients only. Like that would be, something
where
you had patients.
I can do that right now. So, like I said, people just need to contact. Yeah.
Well, legally allowed to give one plant a day. I think I was told because people can grow 4 plants recreational. I believe you're allowed to gift.
Gift up to 4 plants to any person who's legal to consume or produce in that province. So according to the law, I can gift you up to 4 plants because that's what you're legal to grow. And I can also gift you up to 30 grams of cannabis according to the Cannabis Act.
That's right. Yeah, I know. Right. I know. I had to put a friend of mine in Quebec. She's like, I don't want to put this in the mail. I says, you can. It's legal. You can mail 30 grams of cannabis to anybody as long as you grew it yourself. You're good. Like it's fine. You can put it in the mail. Honest. She's like, really? Like, yeah. Make sure you put your real address on it because if you don't, it goes into the undeliverable pile and you don't get it. Because we've been down that road too.
If you're really worried, wrap it in a fucking paper box and gift wrap it, put a bow on it, and enjoy your gift.
Right?
And the Cannabis Act was written, and I think there's a few favors in there for us to be able to operate and exist our lives. They sort of did us a couple solids. Being able to gift somebody up to 30 grams of cannabis or 4 marijuana plants is a pretty cool thing to be able to do.
Well, yeah, considering even as patients before the Smith ruling, we couldn't do that. Like up until the Smith ruling, patients couldn't gift to each other either. And that was it's how I got fucking nailed because I gifted 4 grams. So I got nailed for trafficking, right? And that's exactly, and now I wouldn't have gotten that charge. And and prior to Smith, I wouldn't, and I got the charge. After Smith, I wouldn't have got that charge either. But again, here, it is what it is. So on that note, I guess we got another minute before break, but yeah, so you know what I mean? Like the conundrum goes, well, you should have known better. You know what? I should have. You're right. I should have known better. But we didn't. As patients, we figured, I'm just helping somebody else. So we never looked at it as we were doing anything wrong, right?
It would be nice. It would be nice to follow up with some of the busts that happened last summer. A lot of them were in Ontario. And just sort of follow up to see where those cases went and what the judges were saying. Did people win? Did they lose? Did they go to jail? How long did they get? Because they'll always report on when it happens, but they never tell you what the end result is usually. Sometimes, but not always.
I agree. Well, yeah, Project Claudia was a big thing. What happened to all those bud tenders? Were their charges dropped? Like, there's also that aspect. Like, yeah, you're right. I've never actually thought about following up with those. Because the thing is, who are they? That's the thing. Do we even know who these people are anymore? Are they even still involved?
Right. Yeah. And what did they suffer from? Like, what did they lose? What did they gain? Like, who knows? There's probably a million stories to be told.
Well, I know one girl out in Ottawa, Nova Coates. Nova was busted during the weed raid in Ottawa. And I know what happened to her. Yeah. And I've had her on my show before, but it was before legalization too. On that note, we are going to take a quick 2-minute break and thank our sponsors so that we can continue on our lovely little network that we got going on. So you've been listening to us live on paceradio.net.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Growing your own vegetables, flowers, or even medicinal plants can be a challenge without the right equipment and proper know-how. At BMA Hydroponics, not only are they your urban horticultural experts and suppliers, but their staff holds the customer's needs paramount to making a sale. Family-owned with decades of experience and knowledge, they offer free advice in person, by phone, or email. BMA Hydroponics wants to ensure you have the advice you need, which is why you'll find tips and tricks on different ways to grow, like wick, ebb and flow, drip, or aeroponic system, as well as other helpful links at bmahydroponics.com. If you can't find what you're looking for, just let them know, and they'll do everything they can to get what you're looking for. At BMA Hydroponics, each staff member also possesses a federal exemptee MMAR license, making their strong suit empathy, experience, and dedication to their customers. Because when you know how to grow, you'll have results that make you proud. BMA Hydroponics in Belleville, Ontario. Visit bmahydroponics.com.
CP operates a medicinal cannabis signing clinic. If you want to grow your own medicinal cannabis and are located anywhere in Canada, then I'd like to suggest that you give them a call. They can be reached at 1-613-967-9888. That's 1-613-967-9888. And grow on with CP.
Pace Radio is the people advocating cannabis education radio network.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or a commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
The People's Alliance of Cannabis in Canada is an organization working to improve cannabis legalization in Canada. They have a mission and values that includes all Canadians, no matter where they come from. The values are including everyone, as no one should be excluded from participating, equality, diversity, advocacy, along with cannabis education and research, plus industry, safety, and professional standards. If this is an organization that has the same values as you, check them out at peoplesallianceofcannabisincanada.ca. Once again, peoplesallianceofcannabisincanada.ca. Check them out.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
All right, we're back with Jeff, and over the break we were kind of talking about where you can and can't smoke cannabis and where you can and can't grow cannabis, and the fact that there are provinces in our country, and like Jeff was saying, it's just unfair, totally unfair, that there are buildings, strata buildings in British Columbia where you can't smoke or grow your own cannabis. Quebec, you can't grow cannabis. Those court cases, Al said that he just put up a update this morning on the Quebec case that's going through for growing, and then it's also going to bring into Manitoba as well. I haven't had a chance to read the article yet, sorry, but Al did post that on his pages. But again, we've got these places, like it's again the patchwork system, which I've been saying since the beginning. Some provinces you can, some provinces you can't. Depends on where you live in that province. Municipalities have, like Al's, where Al Graham lives, his municipality has opted out on all cannabis retail, period. So they can't even have a cannabis store where he lives. So giving all these municipalities and provinces and all these different layers of government onion peels to pull back as to what you can and can't do it's really made a great big calendar fuck stick of this whole thing, really.
Well, then I think it takes innovation and creative Canadians to figure out ways around these little hiccups. Like in the town, in the municipality, it's not allowed a license. Somebody needs to roll in there with a bud truck, kind of like a food truck. You roll up, you pop up shop for a couple hours, you peace out, and you come back every couple days. You know, you sit on the edge. You sit on the edge of town with it, right? You make sure you register, you pay your taxes. I mean, you got to just be, like I said, I think it's just going to take some people coming up with some smart, innovative ways to get around the BS. Loopholes are a wonderful thing. That's why we've all survived in Canada so long.
Right? That's a great idea. Like, I never thought of the food truck, pop-up truck. I mean, I have, but not in that aspect. There you go, Al. There's an idea for you. But that's a great idea. In areas that you can't put brick and mortar, make it so you can. That's an idea for people who want lounges too, like have a party bus and roll into somewhere, and set up your little party bus at, some Rotary Park or somewhere downtown. People can come in and smoke and then you leave. That's a great idea.
Yeah, you get a limo bus, you section off the driver so he's not affected by the smoke by any way, so he's not intoxicated while driving, and you pile the back full and get high. Drive around the city you live in.
Right? Yeah. Like that's what that so that would be like
nobody that you can't do that.
No, there isn't. Oh, the little hamster wheels are turning now. Those are great ideas. And that's the thing, like you're right. We have to be more initiative, and take incentives and do entrepreneurial things and get around these loopholes, because there are some. And that's a nice thing about being patient too, right?
Always about taking chances and innovating and trying something new. Like I said, the worst that they can tell you is that you can't do that, it's not going to fly, and then you try something else. That's what being Canadian's all about, I think, and I encourage it.
Absolutely. Well, I'm really, happy to see that you're, doing so well out there, because, like I said, I know this whole virus has really put, a hard strain on local small businesses, which you are. And that's, I'm sure been tough trying to keep the doors open and keep all you and yourself and your staff safe. So kudos to you for keeping your doors open, because you are an essential service no matter what.
Yeah, no, we're barely holding on these days as far as expenses, and we're seeing a real hard drop. We're also feeling oversaturation from the legal market, right?
Yeah.
So once they legalized cannabis, we saw an influx in stores. The dollar stores selling, bowls and bongs and stuff now. So where you used to be able to go like to the head shop, to that more niche market, a place where, somebody was like-minded and understood, and you went there to find your special pipe you always want, you can now just walk into almost anywhere and find that same kind of option. So we've seen a heavy drop in numbers. Like I said, Skunk kind of barely holding on these days. Economy too. Corona really affected a lot of stuff. So, we're hoping to survive the year. But like I said, my main focus these days is CannaPro. The Prairie Cup's been on hold 2 years again, of course, because of Corona. We're not sure what the future of that looks like, but I'm hopeful. We kept the website alive, and
trying to stay optimistic. Yeah, me too. Like I feel I mean, I understand the oversaturation. We have 21,000 population here. We have now 8 pot stores and 4 liquor stores. And I don't know how any of these stores are going to stay viable, because they've 8 of them, there's one on every corner. And we don't have the population to sustain that. And I don't know who the brightness was in City Hall to give that many licenses to businesses, but they did. And I'm just sitting back going, wow. Like, I'm all for having, as more cannabis stores and liquor stores. I'm all for that. But it's just like, how can any of these guys make any money when they're all offering the same products from the same LPs, from the same shit, and they're all like fighting over crumbs?
It cripples industries. So the problem is those places will hold on for 1 or 2 years. And the small guys that tried to entrepreneur and don't have the backing to hold them will eventually run out of money and have to close. And the big guys that did have the backing and the resources to heavy the overhead. So I give the best example I give people. It happened in Saskatoon about 2 years ago with frozen yogurt. So the frozen yogurt train hit our town about 2 years ago. We watched an explosion of like 40 or 45 different stores. It was crazy. There was like a frozen yogurt spot on every corner. In less than 2 years, all of them closed except 2. And they're big franchises. They own a bunch in the States and stuff. So that just goes to show you what oversaturation of a market can do in any commerce. So it sucks that they allowed to open up this platform like that to do, and it just sucks. You've seen it in liquor in Alberta.
Yeah.
Like my
privatization.
My dad lives in Lacombe, just outside Red Deer, and same thing. There's like 8 different pot shops there. You know, it's a small town, retirement community. What do you
right? Exactly.
They're never going to make it. Not all of them, just the ones that can hold on. And that's unfair. It's unfair to do to people who are just trying to.
It's setting people up for failure, completely setting them up for failure. And it's like I said, it's same kind of here. Like we're probably the same size as Lacombe, honestly, maybe a little bit bigger. And it's a retirement town here too. Like we're in the Rocky Mountains, like, you know, and then they've got Creston with 5, which is an hour away. Fernie's got 4. They're an hour away. Kimberley's got a couple too, which is 35 kilometers away. Like it's just the whole area has just been like, whoa. Right. And before legalization, we had the 2 medical dispensaries in Kimberley, the Tamara, and then we had the Earth Owns. Well, they immediately have turned into legal stores. They're now boutiques and they're no longer medicinal dispensaries, which was great for them. But again, you know, making your money off the backs of patients, and now you can't even help those patients anymore. So I'm a little, you know, tainted. I'm not even going to say that I'm not, because you know me. You know well enough to know, Jeff, that I'm a bit tainted. But yeah, it kind of pisses me off a bit. But I mean, everybody's got to make a living, right? I guess. So you do what you do.
Hard not to be jaded, but like I said, oversaturation, they'll cripple the market, and then people will hold on and will recover, and things will change. I want to continue to have that hope that I always did when I started this back in 2004. I always want to continue to be inspired by the people that do care, because that's what it is. You know, you might be angry and it comes out in this hostile kind of voiced opinion of, but it's because you care. You're passionate enough to care about the well-being of others. And I think that that's what always united the community. And I think that will be what carries us forward. At least I have true belief in that.
Well, I think that's the truth, because there are us that still maintain that we did this for the right reasons, right? We did this to help people. We did this not to make a bunch of money. Like, you know, like I said, we all have to make a living. So let's face it, we've all made money off cannabis. That would be a big fat lie if we all said we didn't, because we all have in some way, shape, or form. But again, you know, bottom line is getting access to people at an affordable price where they could actually access medicine. Where now you just try and keep maintaining what you're doing, and it's almost near impossible. Like if you were in weed sales prior to legalization, it lasted for about a year. Now with, like you said, the oversaturation, there's no weed sales coming out of my house at all anymore, because it's just impossible to keep up with the strains, the excess, like the different strain. You can't, even the affordability. It's just near impossible to be a weed dealer anymore, which is fine. I mean, that's great. I mean, we wanted access for everybody. Nobody wanted to be buying a bag of weed in the alley anyways, you know, from some seedy guy. But again, that's not always the way it was either, right?
Right.
I mean, it wasn't always seedy people. It was, you know, other patients, right?
They created the criminals they claimed us to be for so many years, and that's the hypocrisy I had with it all. Like, you know, I always told the police anytime I was involved with them, it's pot. You know, like when we got pepper sprayed in Vancouver at Cannabis Day, the one year, because they tried to shut us down at the art gallery. They fenced off the one side, and we had a rally, and Neil Magnuson got arrested and jumped on and beat up by the cops, and a bunch of people got pepper sprayed, including myself. I earlier in the morning when the cops were there, like, because we got there at like 5 a.m., the police were like already there. And I said to him, I was like, do you guys not have bigger problems to deal with? Like I said, there's somebody right now on East Hastings ODing on a substance that's not good for them. And you're not busting that drug dealer. You're not focusing. You're down here dealing with peaceful people who don't want to have conflict with you. Like we're having a conversation right now. And it just seemed like that wasn't their priorities. Like, yeah, I know that that's where our resources are better off, but they're just not focusing their attention there. So I just think we need to change some policies. Police need to stop looking at things so black and white. And I believe some of that's coming around especially since the fentanyl crisis and the overdose rate. You know, people are finally starting to listen. When they were touring for that Dose movie documentary about treating people for opiates with psilocybin and ibogaine and stuff, when they were touring for that, I went to the showing, and they had some psychology professionals and stuff that came down, and they had a Q&A after. And I said to them, I said, why did it take this epidemic for you guys to start listening to what we've been saying for years? It's so unfortunate. Like I said, you're the smartest, dumbest people on the planet. You guys all got these degrees and stuff, and it's because you don't understand the animal that it is, because you've never had any experience with it.
That's right.
And if you have, you never talked about it because you were worried about being shunned by your peers. So you only have this book-sided education, one view of the way you think it should work, and you know it doesn't. So I don't know. It's a tough balance.
Well, you know, back when Michelle was still alive, we were putting out those medical packages and stuff, and we were taking them into doctors' offices, and then we quickly realized that it really wasn't the doctors we had to hit, it was the College of Physicians, right? Because you have the board above the doctors that tell them what they can and can't do. And when I first moved here, my doctor signed, like, it took me a while to get her on board, but she did sign Alvin and I's paperwork. But then when we went to renew, her clinic wouldn't let her because of legalization. And her comment was, why would I prescribe you 20 grams a day when you can go legally buy 30? And I tried to explain to her the whole growing aspect of things, and it was just the clinic policy. Now sorry, I just can't do it, because they were, I don't know, it was the first license she'd ever signed ever in her life, and it's probably the last. I don't think she ever signed any other ones. And I'm not sure what repercussions she did take, but I think she must have taken some because she was not eager to renew them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she just flatly refused, which
they get threatened by the puppet masters. You're talking about their puppet master, like the College of Physicians. They're overlords. They're like the dark evil of the health world.
Exactly.
Like they oversee like these overlords, and they threaten them, and they threaten to pull their card. And if you get your card pulled, like when you got a family and you rely on that income to survive, like that's scary thing for
to lose your medical licensing because you signed a medical marijuana paper would be horrific for a doctor. And I think that would be totally wrong, because in my mind, cannabis is harm reduction, right? No matter how you look at it. Like a doctor, and I know that some of them see it this way and some don't, but wouldn't you rather prescribe somebody cannabis than morphine? They call morphine heroin. Sorry, morphine, right? Or prescribe the Percocet. Because I've been on that train myself, like for the last year with my arthritis and stuff, and having to take narcotics and not wanting to, and the cannabis helping but not enough, and kind of being on that cusp of needing a little bit of both. But then when I told her I didn't need my pain pills anymore, she was happy to hear that, but then wanted to know how my cannabis consumption was, and had I upped my cannabis consumption. I was actually happy to hear her asking me these questions, but I told her no. And it's not that I don't need the pain medication. I probably still do, but I'm trying to get back into school, and I need a letter written saying that I can go back to school, right? So I'm trying to kind of balance the two out without taking narcotics. But if I phoned her and said, hey, I need a narcotic license over the phone, it'd be shipped off to the pharmacy within 7 minutes. For me to get my cannabis license, I'd be told no. For the same, it's a prescription. Prescription's a prescription, right? No matter how you look at it. And that's where I have an issue. Like I said, I can get her to sign away my whole life on a narcotic, and it's just I don't even have to sign for them at the pharmacy anymore. But she would not sign my prescription for cannabis. And I just think that's bullshit, because the pharmaceutical or the College of Physicians are, pulling the puppet strings. We need to hit them. And that's where I'm, like I said, with Michelle, we were talked about that 10 years ago. And every time it's like, make a complaint, especially if you can't, get a doctor to sign, we should be complaining to the College of Physicians and telling them, why won't this, and explaining. And I don't think people realize that that's where they have to hit. Not complaining to the doctor, complaining to the College of Physicians, asking them why they're not putting patients first, asking them why they're not doing that, why they're telling doctors not to sign medical cannabis prescriptions, because they are a prescription. When it all comes down to it, it's not a license, it's a prescription.
Correct. Yeah, you're then licensed by the federal government to have that prescription, which is a very
grow, right? If you're growing, but if not, then you don't even need it. Like your LP doesn't ever send anything to the government.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. The old
program, no. Yeah, I know.
Even if you
I know.
Would send you a license, which I always thought. Yeah. I'm not going fishing.
Right?
I'm consuming. Yeah, I'm taking my prescription, just like eating a pill. I don't have to fill out any other government forms when I pick up my Dilaudid.
Right?
I was the same way. That's why I got strung out on opiates for 5 years from my doctor, and my liver and my kidneys almost killed me. They started shutting down from the pills, and I had to stop. And then 5 years of taking pain pills, and then I had to sober up because I was super addicted to that crap. So I'll let you know what kind of fun that was.
Yeah, so, I know.
And then I hadn't felt the pain in 5 years because I was on drugs for that. So then I had to go through feeling the injury all over again. It was like falling off a scaffold again. It was horrific. But luckily I had a 30 gram a day cannabis license to help cushion that fall. Yeah. So without that, I would have never survived.
Yeah, I know, right? And that's where they're not seeing it. Like, again, harm reduction, because so many of us have been on that pill train for so long that it is a crash when you come down. And thankfully, I didn't have too hard of a time because I wasn't taking I wasn't taking Dilaudid and that kind of, but Percocet still, daily. So it wasn't fun, but it wasn't that bad. But still, if I wouldn't have had cannabis, it probably would have been way worse. But again, like I said, it's just, they don't see, and they are always screaming about research, but the research we know is there. But yeah, when you get a license from a licensed producer, you can get it done through an app on your phone. And then they send you a little thing saying, you're now legal.
I haven't had to apply for a new license since the Allard decision in 2014.
Oh,
so I've been
you're sitting on the injunction. You're sitting on the injunction.
Yeah, I'll never have to worry.
Great. No, as long as you don't up your script or move, you're good, right? So
right.
Yeah, see, and we moved, like, that's the thing, we moved from Coronation to here. So, and that was right during that MMPR bullshit, right, where we had to lose our grows, and then we finally got out here and we had no power, so we finally found a designated grower that was going to grow for us, and that was a fucking shit show. So I just said, fuck it, I'm not doing this again. I'm not giving anybody else my script so they can sell it on me and not give me my meds, right? Because that's what they did. That's what this guy did. He brought us, a pound of crap, and then would take the overage and we wouldn't see any more of it. And that was a whole year of shit. And yeah, like I just refused to do that ever again. Not doing it.
Yeah, no, it's a hard struggle for patients, and my heart goes out to them. I struggled, so I had lots of patients in the beginning come rolling through the door, and they'd only let you take on two patients, and I probably could have grew for 220 patients. So, maybe we can just get back to medicinal focus and let the recreational program figure itself out in the meantime. And maybe we'll all come together in 2022 at the Tokers Bowl. That'd be super dope.
That would be super. That would be a super idea. Let's hope that, everybody does the right thing and just, get rid of this damn virus so we can get back to life. Because that's where I'm at. Like, I just want to be able to go and fly to Toronto and see some friends, or like we'd planned to do a 10-year reunion in Ottawa this year, because it's been 10 years since we did our MMA PR protest in Ottawa back in February. So we were kind of hoping last year that we could, all meet up back in Ottawa or meet up in Toronto in June. We weren't going to go in February because it was too fucking cold, but we were going to try and make it for June and all kind of meet up in Ottawa and gather together again and do a bit of a reunion. But that's been tabled again too, because it's just not going to be possible. So yeah, it is what it is. Like I said, it's kind of disheartening. I'm grateful that we have, like I said, these shows, and we've got some sessions and stuff that go on online, and we can reach out to people with technology and stuff, which is great with, video chatting and stuff now that, again, we didn't have 10 years ago. So it kind of keeps us all connected. And I know there's people working behind the scenes, always trying to work with Patients Medical. I just want to put a shout out to Jerry Martin this morning too. Good luck on your court case. I know you were just on the stand, and I know it's going to be another 5-6 months of waiting for a decision, but you got this. And thank you from the patients that you have taken this to court. And I want to, same with Sarah and Sean Howell, that, Sean went to court in Alberta, and thank you for doing these things. Of course, you had to go because, it was court, but you fought for patients' rights too. And they actually won that court case in Alberta, which would open the doors for medicinal, for children, for dispensaries and everything else. How that rolls out, we're not sure, because they were going to take it to the Supreme Court, but nobody's got the money. And that's the unfortunate thing with going to a Supreme Court. You need $1 million. And let's face it, we don't have that kind of cash. They don't have that kind of cash anymore. Sean's lost everything to keeping himself and his family safe and out of jail. So, you know what I mean? And thankfully he did that. He kept himself out of jail. That was the main thing out of all of this. So, you know what I mean? And like I said, Jerry too, I think about him going through this ridiculous court case for him helping people. And I just think it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, Pat from Best Buds in Regina is also going through his court case at the current moment as well. So there's a lot
shout
of
out to him too. Yeah.
Right. So it's a lot of people with their back up against the wall in a courtroom trying to still fight for the justice of medicinal marijuana patients. My hat's off to all those people who are fighting the war. It's not an easy battle or cheap. You're 100% correct. They need your support. If it's not just a kind word, rally behind them. Martin Medical Services, Jerry Martin, and everything that he's done for people. If it's just not kind words of support, then pull out your wallet if you can and throw some dollars their way, because you're right, these things aren't cheap, and lawyers cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. It costs tons of money. So if you that, ask Jason, or you could can I guess, but you could ask Jason Wilcox what the coalition trial, like the Allard trial, was not cheap. So.
No, it wasn't. And rest his soul too, because we've lost a lot of good people in the last couple of years, and he'd be one of them too. Just ridiculous. But we've got some good news, because Haley Jade Rose is doing pretty well. And she was our first medically licensed patient in Canada. She was 15 when they licensed her, right? So she's still plugging away. But I just got this stuff from Cheryl yesterday, and I've mentioned this on my show before. I'm going to be starting a GoFundMe page for Haley to get a vehicle so that she can get some quality of life and have her caregiver go out and take her out and do stuff. So we're looking at getting her a van with a wheelchair lift, because she's in a wheelchair, right? And she can't go to places where there's noise and sound and all kinds of stuff, but they're really isolated. They're super isolated. She can't go out and do anything. It's $100 taxi ride just to get her to her neurologist in a taxi service with a wheelchair in Vancouver, right? So we've talked about this before. Cheryl's finally gotten me everything together that I need, and I'm going to start this campaign to try and get her a vehicle. Even if we can get the vehicle bought and gotten to them, we don't really care about it's not even about the money. We just need the vehicle bought for her. So we've been looking on Kijiji too, and doing other aspects of looking. So again, I know people are tight with cash and stuff. So even if it's $2, we're going to be starting that up here in the next couple of days too, to help Haley get a vehicle so that she can have some quality of life. Because I know she's not a kid anymore. That's the hardest thing for Cheryl, is that she can't get the grants and the funding that she could have gotten for Haley prior to her being 18. But Haley's not any better than she was prior to her being 18, even though she's a young adult now. So it makes a lot of things more difficult for funding for anybody with disabilities once they're no longer a child.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Yeah, come on in now. Al's going to join us quickly here. We got some comments.
That's right, yes. Yeah, unfortunately, Tamara, you can't see these comments, so I thought I'd take the opportunity to read these off so people can, hear what some of these comments are. Ron McNabb, he's got quite a few on here. He says the CMA has always been against cannabis, and they are one of the prominent stakeholders that Health Canada listens to when creating and reviewing these regulations. The provincial disability program should be paying for medical cannabis. ODSP used to pay $50,000 a year for the 23 pills a day that he was taking. I used to put $0 towards my cannabis. I barely have enough money to live on now, so the $300 I pay for cannabis really makes things tough. He's looking
right, and that's.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the problem. Like, it really is. Like I said, there's so many people that are struggling just to survive right now. Never mind, like, the people are out of work, the virus is taken over, and let's face it, cannabis helps people's mental health too. So if you're stuck in isolation, I'm telling you, if I'd been stuck in isolation last year with we had 4 adults and a kid in this house, and we wouldn't have had any weed, we likely all would have killed each other. Like, seriously, like, let's face it, like, that is a huge thing. So I'm happy to a point that legalization has brought it so that cannabis is essential, which, is good. But if it's essential, then it should be being paid for by your insurance companies and by your OSDP. Like, you know what I mean? If it's being deemed essential, then why isn't it being paid for?
Yeah, Ron believes, and I agree with him, the provinces can save money on the pharmaceutical ends because people are using cannabis instead of using pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Goes on here to say what else? Figures, blah, blah, blah. Fred, he says it's such a farce what they have done to all the patients in the mom and pop stores with this legalizations. Patients' access has been a slap in the face. Let's do recreational everywhere, but medical access still only from one store in Ottawa, Ontario, he says here. And he shakes his head at it, being that, with access-wise. And
because there is one medical store in all of Canada.
Correct. One. Yeah, Hybrid Farm in Ottawa. Fred also throws a thank you out to you and Jeff for doing everything that you're doing and bringing awareness to people. And Ron also mentions Jerry Martin's case. He says, look what's happening with Jerry Martin right now and the Socorros with S&M's Medicinal Sweet Shop and many others. It's such bullshit and a waste of taxpayer money. Meanwhile, the real crime happening is the denial of proven life-saving medicine for patients.
Well, what they're doing out in Vancouver too with Neil, him having to beg Health Canada to help people with harm reduction, and like Neil and Chris Backer too out in Halifax. Like, and there's other places in Canada that are doing this as well. But I mean, they've really been vocal about what they're doing. And for Neil to have to beg Health Canada to help regulate him, it's unfortunate that he has to deal with that. It just makes it's heartbreaking that they have to beg to help people.
Yeah, Fred calls the medical program a forgotten program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. 100% it's a forgotten program. You barely even hear people talking about it. And I mean, patients have been so washed out that they're completely beaten down by the system that was supposed to provide a medicine that helped them. I can't blame anybody for feeling the pain and pressure that they do. My heart goes out to every one of those warriors, and I'm here with you. We've been through that same struggle for so long. Like, right now, even just talking about it makes me emotional enough to know. And I went through those early painful years of struggle with being denied constantly and being told, no, you're not using that as a medicine. It's a drug and it's an illegal one and you're a criminal. Like, and just to finally get a license and then not be able to get any weed that was worth anything to be able to make you feel better. Almost makes you feel worse. Like, you hear it from that one guy saying, I barely survived, because he's right. He can't. He's lucky he's alive, and never mind what he's dealing with his ailment. He got all that emotional and financial constraint and stress. Like, it's unbelievable that more patients don't, just call it a day. Like, my hat goes off. I consider every one of them a warrior.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, and thanks for listening, Ron and Fred. We appreciate you listening. But again, it's over a compass that we've gotten to where we are. where patients have been left behind. Recreational is thriving. And you walk, like even myself, walk into a store and you say, I'm a patient. They look at you like with their eyes rolling in their head like a slot machine. Because a patient, what is that? A unicorn? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? It's almost like we're unicorns again. Like you say you're using for medical, and I look like, what? You know, like, well, we can't tell you what to use. And I don't go and support any of them, to be honest. Like, I actually, the only people that I'm supporting is our reservation dispensary, because that I believe that they are doing it right, because it's like old school. It's like you go in, you talk to them. They do tell you if they have anything that they think that might help you. It's all out in jars. You can see it, smell it. Everything's out. Like I said, it's like old school dispensary time. And they are knowledgeable, and they do give a shit. And that's why I've been really supporting them. And I suggest and recommend anybody in the East Kootenay area to go and see them out on the reserve on the Tinaha, because they're doing it right. And I appreciate that they have taken the time to educate themselves and their people that are working there, so that they are doing it right. And even the Tenanga, like, you know, Legacy 420, lab testing and all this stuff. So if our, you know, Indigenous brothers and sisters are taking the lead in this, good for you guys. My hat's off, because that's where it's needed to be. And we need to make these licensed producers realize that their plastic jars aren't helping people. It's making it worse. So I don't know. That's my stance. I mean, there's room for everybody in this industry, and we've known that from the very beginning. Why the licensed producers want to cut down on patients growing because they figure it's competition? Then grow better weed. I don't know what else to say. Like,
they're
really.
They're trying.
Right? They're trying, because they're going to get your genetics, right? And they've got Ramos nutrients in their gardens. So they're trying. I know they're trying. And like I said, there are a few really good licensed producers out there. I'm not going to say they're all bad, because there's always, you know, the bad apples. So the ones that are really trying, good for you guys too. Like, and all these micro crafters that have been waiting and trying. Like, that's where my hat's off to these micro crafters, because I know one out here that's been, you know, knocked back and had to build a new facility and knocked back. And I don't know how much closer he is to getting plants in the ground, but it's just been a goddamn 6-year struggle. And kudos, and my hat's off to even keeping up the battle to keep getting that license, because that in itself is a struggle and a fight. It's not easy. It's not easy to get that gold seal that you can open your doors and produce medical cannabis, or cannabis or not, you know, anything for the licensed producer. So it's a struggle, and hats off to those, you know, micro crafters, those young entrepreneurs that are trying to get those micro licensing, because we do see you, and we do know that you're trying to do the right thing.
Well, they have made it easier than they did 3 years ago. I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah, but it's good to see Patrick.
Who were getting in were like Tilray's and Canopy Growth and big companies with endless money. And they got all that money off of using consultants to bullshit investors. And then after that, shit the bed. Like I said, you want to talk about following up with people. We should follow up with a few people that used to work for those big companies that have shut down recently and laid off hundreds of people. Like, where did they get displaced to? How were their lives affected? Did they go on to work in the industry?
I see Adam's not.
Some questions I have, right? You know?
Yeah. Well, let's see if I can get Adam Greenblatt on my show, because I see that he's unemployed right now, and I'm not sure why. I don't know what the story is behind that. So let's see if maybe we can pull Adam out of the shadows. I doubt he's listening. But I'd like to pull Adam Greenblatt out of the yeah. Let's see if we can pull Adam out of the shadows and see what's going on. I know last time I tried to get Matt on the show, he's on a publication ban and he couldn't come on. So I'm not sure what's behind all that either. But as far as I know, he's still working for Peace Naturals, but I'm not sure either. So lots of our friends, you know, lots of our friends that have, you know, and like I said, there's always been room for everybody. All the people that have tried it, that have gotten in, like I said, it's not easy to get that gold seal. So good for you. But yeah, there's been a lot of, you know, stuff that we aren't hearing about that's going on in the cannabis industry, because I'm not in the industry. I'm in the cannabis community, but I'm not in the cannabis industry. Right. I think that's the difference, decipheration, because the industry has gone a whole different direction from where our community has. And our community's kind of been lost in the crossfire. And that's where I'm, you know, trying to keep our community together. It's really tough. It's tough because there's so much, you know, so much.
I will always be involved the way that I have been, and I will always continue to push the envelope forward with what I've done. I plan to get back to the Prairie Cup. I plan to get back to rallies and and I plan to continue to help patients, and I plan to grow in the legal market and be part of what they said is supposed to be this legal plant that we should be able to enjoy and be part of. I mean, if they don't want to play fair, then why did they open the playground? So, It shouldn't be they're the only ones that profit. They're the only ones that get ahead. And I think, like I said, there's some changes. We need to be hopeful and hold on to that affect change as best we can from every angle, community, industry, commerce versus black market, Maybe we can encourage some of those black market people to come into the legal industry. I know guys that used to sit at home and peddle a bag of pot that are now working in a micro grow watering plants every day. It's because they were always passionate about weed. They just felt they were a criminal, and now they're not. So I think it just takes that time for everybody to open up and just have open discussions about it and try to think about what the best goal and most effective way to get there is for some problem solving and some lobbyists. I'm a strong believer in some lobbyists. We need to meet some of those or become some of those. And then see if we can to change from the inside out. That's why I started CannaPro, trying to make a difference from the inside out. That's the only way I know how to affect change.
That's do something right. And good positive. For you, Jeff. Yeah,
if you can't beat them, you got to join them. And I'm not trying to fight the big giant. They don't play by their own rules, which is really unfair to us.
Exactly.
So, and you can't do anything from a jail cell, except think about how you got there. So let's and I said hats off to everybody fighting the battle right now because you're warriors, and I love every one of you. And I got your back. If you need it, just call me.
Excellent. Well, my dear, on that note, we've gone over our hour, which is always fine. We're allowed to do that. So we're gonna say thank you very much for being on my show and informing us, and thanks for everything you're doing, Jeff. Because again, I know you're out there, fighting the good fight, and always have been. So we appreciate you. We see you out there too. So thanks very much for coming on my show today.
It was a party, and thanks for having me. And
we look forward to that Prairie Harvest Cup again. And when I have my Kootenai Cannabis Cup, you better get your ass out here. That's all I got to say to you.
I'll be there. I'll be there with buds on.
Excellent. And we'll talk more about the Toker's Ball because that's something I'd be interested in helping with as well. So that's all good. All good stuff.
Long time dream. Of certainly hope. Can I plug my how to find me?@Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Okay, so if you want to get in contact with us, we are email at skunkfunksmoker@gmail.com. You can directly get a hold of me there. Our website, skunkfunksmoker.ca. You can also find us at Prairie Medicinal Harvest Cup, PMHC. So if you just search Prairie Medicinal Harvest Cup, I believe it's .ca as well. And then CannaPro, so Cannabis Professionals. .ca is our website, and CannaPro Cannabis Professionals Nursery is our official company.
That's excellent. I look forward to seeing more from you. I congratulate you on your new journey, and I wish you the best of luck because I think that's just going to be perfect for you. And yeah, good luck on that because it's going to be a lot of paperwork, and I'm sure you.
Yeah, we got a lawyer for that.
Oh, good. Well, that's good to hear.
I think Matt Myrna is going to help a little bit along the way.
Oh, perfect.
But thank you so much. And in the famous words of Greg Williams, Marijuana Man, peace and pot.
Absolutely. Everybody have a great week. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week, Wednesday, on paceradio.net. Bye.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
BMA Hydroponics has everything you need to succeed. Visit our hydroponics superstore at 404 Maitland Drive in Belleville and we'll show you how to grow your own quality cannabis for pennies per gram. We're open Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Thursdays and Fridays from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Call 613-967-9888. BMA Hydroponics. It's worth the drive. The only way to go.
The People's Alliance of Cannabis in Canada is an organization working to improve cannabis legalization in Canada. They have a mission and values that includes all Canadians, no matter where they come from. The values are including everyone, as no one should be excluded from participating, equality, diversity, advocacy, along with cannabis education and research, plus industry, safety, and professional standards. If this is an organization that has the same values as you, check them out at peoplesallianceofcannabisincanada.ca. Once again, peoplesallianceofcannabisincanada.ca. Check them out.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or a commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.